This is Stefan Deschênes, host of the Naturist Living Show. We launched this latest episode on the 10th UNESCO World Radio Day, Sunday, the 13th of February, 2021. This year's theme is New World, New Radio, and podcasting is very much a part of the evolution of radio. The topic of this latest episode is censorship in social media, which seem particularly well suited for World Radio Day. Since its beginning over a century ago, radio has been a way to share ideas far and wide. It transcends borders and reaches people in places that are difficult to access. So now podcasting takes that even further by giving almost everyone the power to broadcast their own ideas. But censorship has always been an issue and is back with a vengeance in the new world of social media. Naturist ideas are being suppressed, so we must remain vigilant in order to defeat its nefarious impact. Social media is a new de facto public space, and podcasting depends on it to reach the masses.
Nuevo mundo, nueva radio.
We all love radio.
Día Mundial de la Radio.
Hello, I'm Audrey Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO. Every year, on the 13th of February, we celebrate radio, a medium that is 110 years young, a constantly evolving platform for culture, for knowledge, for news, for the voices of the world. Wherever you are, radio is with you. In lockdown, it opens door to the voices of the world, to health information, to education, to the arts. It's a precious tool for the transmission of information, a global common good. I wish you all a very happy World Radio Day.
Déclaration de la plus grande importance.
Hier spricht Radio Bulgarien.
Radio is a powerful tool to be the outspoken teacher that sometimes we don't have in school.
ثلاثة عشر فبراير اليوم العالمي للإذاعة.
A voice to the voiceless, to the poor, to minorities, to women.
Día Mundial de la Radio. Día Mundial de la Radio.
This is our message on World Radio Day.
On this episode of the Naturist Living Show, censorship.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show is brought to you by Bare Oaks Family Naturist Park. At Bare Oaks, we offer traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Free your body, free your mind. www.bareoaks.ca.
Welcome, dear listener, to episode 128 of the Naturist Living Show. And this episode is brought to you by the very kind support of Andrew, Dinheru, Jacob, Robert, and Ali. The show is available free and will always be because we want to make sure we can spread the word. But it's available because of the kind support of these folks. And if you'd like to also contribute to the show, just visit us on Patreon, patreon.com/ Naturist Living Show. But today we're talking about censorship, and that is a very serious topic. It's a subject which has been discussed for centuries, I'm sure. Certainly my entire lifetime I've heard this topic come up and come back and always be discussed. People are always happy to have their thoughts heard, but they're also happy to have people that they don't like or disagree with censored. But unfortunately, censorship is a double-edged sword, and you can't have it both ways. I'm not saying there shouldn't be censorship. There has to be censorship. There's some limits to what people should be able to say, because there are things that are quite harmful. One of the obvious one is people shouldn't be able to go around saying to people that you were a murderer or whatever, if you're not, if you have not done it, because that's defamation, that's hurting your reputation, that's damaging your reputation. So there has to be some limits to what we say. But of course, what we say as naturists, our message, is the issue. While we cheer for some of the censors out there that are stopping the angry, damaging speech, we get caught up just as easily in that. And very few people are unaware, if they're in naturism, that there's lots of censorship on what we do. It goes way back. We fought a century ago as naturists for the right to have images. Maurice Parmely's book, Dr. Maurice Parmely's book, in 1927 was heavily censored, couldn't be distributed, and all it had was a few pictures in it showing people just enjoying themselves, sitting around, playing games like volleyball. I don't know if there was volleyball, but something that looked like volleyball in them, in little black and white pictures. Not very much at all, but that was shocking by them. And they fought because it wasn't just smut, as they like to say. It was not just pornography. It was not indecent. It was an idea. And the reason that censorship is bad is when it prevents new ideas from coming out. New ideas are important. People need to keep stirring the pot. Society does not move forward unless people bring up new ideas. You go back to hundreds of years, and the ideas of the earth being round was deemed to be a terrible thing, and people were jailed or killed for suggesting the earth was round. Some people don't like the idea of evolution. Some people don't like the idea of democracy, or they didn't, and now generally we agree, but in some countries they don't, and they're trying to prevent the idea from spreading. So ideas have to be free. If ideas aren't free, even if we don't like them, we can't discuss them, and sometimes those ideas become interesting, and those ideas become popular, and those ideas become what we think the way the world should be. So naturism is an idea. It's not just running around naked. There's absolutely an argument that we should also have the right to be nude, to be in our natural state. That should be a fundamental human right as well. But naturism is also a much bigger idea than that. It is a way to change how we interact with each other and how we see each other. As I like to call it, ethical naturism, not just recreational naturism. And we have to be able to tell that story. If we can't, then nothing will change. People will never accept us. We also won't be able to grow as a movement. And images is where we get into the most trouble. Not always. Sometimes just talking about it is a problem. But right now, images are our biggest issue. And no matter how subtle we are, we seem to get censored on social media. It's the fight in the beginning of the 20th century about pictures is no different than the fight today. We need pictures. Pictures are the only way to really, well, first, it's an important way to get attention because, as we know, Instagram exists mostly because it's image-based and became popular because it's image-based. A picture is worth 1,000 words is one of the oldest sayings, right? And it's true. You can talk all you want about sitting around nude and just not being sexual and just being casual. And nothing, though, really explains it as well as a picture. People are just sitting around having a coffee, chatting without any clothes on. That's what it looks like in naturism. It's hard for people to imagine until they see it. I know some people still find that image sexual, but we can't stop that. Well, we can. We're trying to change it, but we can't stop that some people will find sexuality in it. But that doesn't mean that a lot of people will not see it for what it is, which is that you can actually sit around and be nude and not wear clothes, and it's not sexual. It's just everyday like it is. And so we need those pictures. And social media has been a problem for us because no matter how subtle we are getting censored. And I know I've been censored for all kinds of crazy things, to the point now that if you follow the Bear Oaks social media feed, you'll see that we censor everything to an extreme length because there's no consistency. There's no consistency in how they apply the rules. I know they're written down, but the problem is there's an army of, according to articles I've read, low-paid workers who have to make decisions because they either they get reports, but now a lot of AI, artificial intelligence, is flagging things, and then they have to make decisions, or sometimes I think the AI now is making a decision on its own. And this is a problem because there's a lot of subtlety and a lot of complexity in the ideas. And I'm not taking away from the fact that moderation is a very difficult job. It's necessary. And if you read some of the articles, and I'll post some of them in the show notes, there's huge psychological trauma in doing the job because people post unbelievable abuse and violence on social media. Most of the time we don't see it because moderators are taking them out. And a lot of them, because they are exposed to so many of those every day, develop actual psychological trauma, PTSD from the job. And to me, though, it would seem that if you saw those horrible things, seeing somebody sitting around clothes-free reading a book or having a cup of coffee would be the last thing that you'd be worried about, make you smile. But still, they are interpreting rules that have been put in front of them. Often they live in different cultures because there are people all over the world doing these jobs. They're applying ethnocentric rules. And what do I mean by that? Well, here where I am in outside Toronto, it is perfectly legal for women to be top-free. So a woman can walk top-free down the street, hopefully when it's warm outside, and I can see that. Everybody can see that. Families can see that. Children can see that because it's legal and it's what you see on the street. You may not like it, but there's a lot of things that people say. There's a lot of things that people do that I don't like, but they have the right to do it. And so I can take that picture. I could post it, but if I post it on social media, even though it's legal in our community standards here in Toronto, it will get me in trouble. It'll probably get me banned. And there are many different community standards around the world. So you cannot apply one set of rules. It doesn't make sense. There are places where showing a picture of a woman with a low-cut dress is against their community standards, but we allow that. So you can't apply one rule, and that's one of the problems. The other problem is the personal interpretation. To me, though, the most frustrating thing is because we are so careful to follow the rules and still we get banned, is that there's no appeal process. Or when there is, you click a button. You don't get to explain. There's no reason behind it that we can rationalize why this should be okay. If there is an appeal, and there's often no appeal process, it's just, you're done. I mean, it's like somebody's, if the police could just walk around, arrest you, they didn't have to tell you why, kept you in jail for a few days, and then when they let you out, they told you, don't do it again. You say, what did I do? They said, you know, don't do it again. Here's the criminal code. You violated this. How am I supposed to deal with that? Well, that's exactly what it feels like when you deal with Facebook or Instagram or some of the other social media out there. And it's impossible to deal with. Having said that, I know that there are places, there are societies, and there are countries, that's exactly how it works. But I think in general, in Western democracies, we agree that's not the right way to do it. And that is where we are being subjected to these rules by companies like Facebook and Instagram. And you don't have to just be a naturist. I know many people who've been censored or banned or had their pictures deleted who are not naturists. One of them is Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hello, Stefan.
So, you're not a naturist?
I am not, no.
You don't run around naked all the time?
No, although my 3 girls do, which saves a lot in laundry. It's basically their favorite thing to do is run around naked wherever we are, especially at home or at the cottage. But I have yet to really join them.
And they're very little, right?
They are, yes, all toddlers, so 3-year-old twins and a 5-year-old. And then I have a 15-year-old son who is not interested whatsoever in joining in.
So you're very active on social media. You post a lot of pictures on Instagram, right?
Yes, yeah, I would say so. Kind of selectively, like not all day long, but if we're doing something really special or I want to shout out, like this morning, one of my friends brought me a box full of toys from the 80s that were hers for all my girls. And so, it was a really special moment. They're opening all these toys, and kind of as a thank you to her, I shared the photos of the girls opening the toys and stuff like that. So, those kinds of things.
And have you ever had one of your pictures censored?
I have probably maybe close to half a dozen times or so, mostly Instagram, I'd say.
And were there nude pictures?
No, so they weren't nude pictures. I have never posted nude pictures of any of my children online, or even, when they were babies, they usually, there'd be a blanket or maybe like the backs of them or their bare bum or something like that. But nope, they were just pictures. They might have had a pull-up on or shorts on or something like that. And you may know more about this than I do or understand more about this, but perhaps like some sort of algorithm computer in the background is considering that they are fully nude or something like that, and it's been flagged and removed.
And how does that feel?
Well, it makes me question, it's almost like there's this secret world out there within social media and Facebook and Instagram, etc., where we can't and we don't have the right to understand it or ask any questions about it. It's just, this is what someone has decided or a computer's decided, and that's it. And if you choose to post the photo again, you then have the chance of being blocked or removed or, having penalties put against you for a certain number of days. So, for me, it's never been, the most, the best photo or, a really great cause that I went to share it again. I've just kind of left it at that. Because I know from past experience in trying to get a hacked account back from Facebook, it's an ongoing thing, and you can keep reporting it and keep asking for help. And in my experience, I've never received that help. So I've just left it always. If it's been flagged and taken down for inappropriateness because they feel that there was too much skin showing or they felt it was a nude photo or something, I've just left it.
But how do you, any emotions come to mind?
Yeah, so I would say there's definitely sometimes some frustration about it because it's just not what they're claiming I've done, or it's not the type of photo that they're suggesting it is. But then I also sometimes think, there's a wide variety of things that are shared on the internet that could be perceived as like much more concerning possibly, um, or at higher risk of being violated or taken by someone else and using the wrong way. And I've never felt that my photos were like that. So yeah, I guess like I've never posted one that's made me question like, oh, did I go too far in posting that? Was I being risky or, not a responsible parent? Like I've never felt that way. Um, yeah, so I guess just, sometimes frustrated in that like I just don't have the control over it. There's really not much you can do.
Has it changed your behavior at all?
I would say, in posting something, if it is ever a photo along those lines, like they're, playing at the beach or in their bathing suit or in a pull-up or something, I do think of it like, oh, is enough covered? Because sometimes they're, with kids, they're like sitting in a funny position and they have like a blanket or something, and you maybe don't see their pull-up, but you see their bare chest or their arms or whatnot. And so I would say if it is a photo like that, I do think of it now just because it has happened a few times. And I do have photos on Facebook or Instagram that, it's kind of like a photo album for myself. So I don't ever want to lose access to those photos.
Do you think this is right?
So I can speak for my particular, examples of when it's happened to me. And I definitely don't feel it was right because, the computers or, whatever in the background has just selected photos that were not actually violating any of their terms. Like they did have clothing on or something on or a diaper or whatever that was, covering parts that they're not supposed to be shared or go against their guidelines or whatnot. So I think my answer is probably, if in regards to my personal photos, I don't feel it was right, but I guess there is this other aspect of it where, if someone does share a photo and they're maybe not thinking about some of the risks that could be out there, I guess it is another line of defense to make you think twice possibly, or, protect a child or someone else that, maybe wouldn't want that photo shared. So I think there's kind of a double-edged sword to it.
But of course, naturists are the most frequent victims of this. And I don't know how often, because of course there's no stats. We hear it all the time. We hear people complain all the time. Our friends disappear from social media for short periods of time. Sometimes their feed disappears permanently, and we hear it in other social media, Twitter, for example, which is much more tolerant, that they've disappeared from Instagram and they can't ever get it back. One of the first ones to complain loudly, and I was very active on social media, is Felicity and Jordan from the Young Naturist of America. Now, Felicity actually had enough of all this, and she's gone on and to have a family. Well, Felicity and Jordan, but she was the one that was most active on social media. But we still keep in touch. So I caught up with Felicity and asked her to tell her story. Hi, Felicity. It's so good to talk to you again.
Hi, yes, good to talk to you. Things have been good, but really busy. Like a bit really busy past 2-3 years because I had a baby.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, he's now he'll be 2 years old in a few months. And so he's a little toddler that I chase around on a daily basis. And yeah, we've been renovating our apartment in New York City, and that's been keeping us busy.
So no nudie world stuff at all? No going to places, beaches?
No, I was at Rock Lodge last summer because my mom's there. She wants to spend time with her grandson.
And anything, did you continue with your blog or anything?
No, I really haven't. I want to get back into it and update it and everything. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so it's going to be easier when my son, I think, get him into a kind of program where he's not going to be with me all day. And yeah, I do plan to, revive it.
Yeah, the Jordan's been active, at least on Instagram.
Oh yeah, I know. He always does he loves the Instagram. I mean, he loves to hate it, but he usually gets like most of the time I think he's shadow banned. So like if you search hashtags that he uses or anything, like he won't come up.
Right, right. Well, and that's actually a very good segue because, as you know, we're talking about censorship.
Yes.
So shadow banning is particularly insidious because you're blocked and you don't even know it.
No, I don't know much about it. I mean, I'm sure it's like, you violated some rules and now you're shadow banned, but like, it seems like they don't even tell you.
Exactly. There's no warning, no announcement, no nothing.
It's so shady. I mean, I guess it's, I prefer that. I would prefer that to being completely banned from a platform, but to just do it secretly is like WTF. I mean, it's messed up.
Well, you got banned a lot, and you got a lot of blocks, and you got a lot of things deleted. You had a whole page called "Shit That Got Me Banned" on, was it social media or just Facebook?
I had a Tumblr blog, just for posting all of the shit that got me banned from Facebook. And other platforms as well. I mean, I think I've been posting about YouTube on there. Wherever else was like censoring me at the time.
Yeah, it's still live. I can look at it here.
Yeah.
And so we'll post a link to it in the show notes so people can go take a look at it.
Yeah, I have some sad news about my Vimeo account because I created like, a parody video of like Facebook, about the stuff that they censored me with, and I got my Vimeo account was deleted. They removed my account.
Wow.
Not even because of nudity, but because here, wait, I'm gonna like pull up the email so I can tell you exactly what the thing says. It says my account has been removed for violating our guidelines. Reason is that you cannot upload rips of movies, music, television, viral videos, or any other content that you did not create.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that it must be referring to that Facebook video that I created. That's like a look back. It was like a look back at the shit that got me banned. And I think it's a mistake, really, because I didn't take Facebook's video and like alter it. I like created my own video to look like Facebook's video.
Well, do you still have the video?
I do. It's on a laptop that I need to get fixed, so I do have it. It wasn't completely gone when they removed my account, but I don't know if I could get my account restored or anything.
Oh, no, it's okay. Send me the video. I will post it on the Naturist Living Show servers, which I own and control, and nobody can ever delete it, except me.
Yeah, that's like the only way to keep something up now with that. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at Vimeo's terms and rules about that, and yeah, it's just very annoying. But
and see, that's the problem, isn't it? You get censored all the time. I do. You do. For not violating the rules, but there's no way to debate or argue these mistakes, right? You can't appeal.
Right.
Have you tried to appeal?
On this particular account, no. But
no, on any of the bans in the past.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Always tried to.
And?
No results came of that. I mean, you wouldn't even get an answer. Like, it was the most frustrating process. I mean, there was really, like, in the beginning, there was no appeal. Like, you couldn't even appeal anything. And then they tried, like, I know on Facebook, tried to put in an appeal option, but it was still, like, just hitting a wall. I mean, it just like I always wrote about, I was writing about censorship and just it's basically the same problems it always has. Like it just became too big to actually be monitored, and of course they're trying to automate it as much as possible. And when you do that, there's no way that you can really, if a person's not looking at it, a robot cannot detect the historical significance of an image. It doesn't know context. It doesn't, like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not going to take any sort of nuanced view of what you're posting. It's just automatic, and it's just automated, robot to detect how much skin is in a picture or something. So it's like a major issue when they just take stuff down, and they have these very strict guidelines, and it's trying to, take down anything that might offend somebody. So I always argued that the users, should have the ability to choose what they do or don't want to see. If you want to try to filter out certain things and, give the person that control.
Absolutely. So, if you're following Young Naturists of America, you expect to see nudity and you don't mind.
I mean, people may not actually realize nudity from that word, just people don't even know what naturist is, but, like, it should be, it's pretty common sense. If you're going to look at certain pages, that you're going to see certain things, and, like, I think most people don't care about non-sexual nudity or nude art. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's really, like, it comes down to the social networks don't care about that. They just care about advertising and money and what's ultimately going to profit them the most.
So when you were doing this and getting banned, like how often do you think you got banned while you were doing YNA?
Oh my God, so many times. I don't know. It was at least every few months I would get banned. And it would happen too, like, for things I'd posted forever ago. I would just suddenly, like, find something posted back in, 2 years ago or something. I would get banned for it.
Yeah, I just got a post deleted on Instagram that it was done 8 months ago.
Yeah.
So how did it impact you?
Oh, it was so hard. It was so hard to do, to promote our organization and to do the work we were doing. I mean, to reach people. It's so much harder when you can't use social media the way everyone else can.
So it very much impacted your ability to run a business or develop an organization.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Because people will tell you, say, well, come on, those are private organizations. You have the choice. You don't have to use them.
Oh, right. I know that argument. Yeah. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You have these major websites that if you don't use them, you're cutting yourself off from a huge population of people that you could reach. I mean, a business doesn't really have a choice not to be on these sites if they really want to reach people and do the right marketing and get the word out about them. It's really like it's just ridiculous to suggest, oh, just don't go use those platforms.
Well, and then people will say, well, did you have to post pictures? You knew you weren't supposed to post pictures.
Right. What's freedom of expression? That's not important. Yeah. What do you need to put art on the internet for? We could just post only words and never look at anything again.
Yeah. And what would you say to that?
it's ridiculous. Like we're trying to put out a message. We're trying to promote non-sexual nudity. I mean, we're trying to promote our art, like the art projects we collaborated on, and all these things. And it's so hard to do that without images. And also, like, images attract attention a lot more than just words do.
Yeah, and especially since they seem to give a bias towards that. Like they support that. Instagram is essentially a picture medium with some words attached to it, right? You can't really do it without.
Right, and that's why Instagram grew to be such a huge thing. I mean, people love pictures and love sharing pictures. I mean, it's become something that people want to share also, which is like key to social media. So, yeah, I mean, it's integral to using it. And you know, there have been like ways that naturists have tried to get around. I know you've posted pictures that have been like just you turn it into like kind of a painting looking image, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there were things we would try to do to. I mean, I hate it. I hated censoring my own pictures. I hated it. I was like, I really teetered on. Okay, I'd rather really not even post this at all than to take a freaking dot and put it over a nipple, or cleverly try to, you know. And it came to the point where we were taking specific photos with the intent of, okay, this is going to be something that we'll be able to post on Facebook and Instagram. And I never liked that either. I mean, I wanted to be able to put everything on there and not just the sanitized version of something, or just a hint of something. And you know, like we've talked about it before, that hiding the nudity and sort of blocking out certain parts, it just does the opposite of what we're trying to promote. Like, you know, the idea of nudity being normal and not something you need to censor or cover up, and these are not like dirty parts that, you know, we're not supposed to look at. So
what can we do?
I don't know, Stefan. I seriously really haven't even been on Facebook much or posting, and it's crazy. The last thing I got banned for, I was actually like mocking something from social media, where I'd get like these crazy messages from weirdos, and they would just send me weird, and I posted on Facebook like just mocking it, and it was like some guy mentioning sex, of course, something dumb and weird, and I got banned for that. It was just some automated like, oh look, and I was reposting his message in order to be like, hey, look, this is how you shouldn't message a naturist organization, and I got banned for that. I got punished for that.
Well, the one I was deleted from 8 months ago was for promoting adult sexual encounters or something. And the topic was about how naturists were gathering online, right? Having online video chats. That's what it was about.
Oh my God.
So I suppose if you think looking at each other naked through video online is sexual, which I guess some people do, that would qualify, I guess. But again, there's no explanation. There's like a general, here's why you're banned, or here's why you've lost your post, and don't talk to us. We'll call you.
Right. Oh man. We had a Facebook group. I still have it, like a Facebook group for the longest time, too. Was another way for us to have a community online, and there we had to really heavily like regulate what people would share and try to figure out what we could and couldn't allow, just so that the group would not get shut down. But it definitely seemed like that content in the group too is being monitored. And you have people, they're joining a group it clearly says there's going to be nudity in this group probably. Like, don't join it if you don't want to see that. You're like opting in, really opting in, if you join a group.
Oh, Big Brother Facebook knows, though, what you really want to see and what you don't want to see. They've admitted that they monitor messenger contents, like private messages.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll send a link to the article there where they admit that.
Yeah. Oh, God. The privacy. I'm so, like, I just get into these, I start thinking about it and I just, like, my head explodes. Like, I'm trying to get a new weather app on my phone, and I'm like, how do I get a weather app that's not tracking me and then selling my information? It's like, I don't think there is one. Like, it's just everything is just being, tracking us, and just there is, like, no privacy anymore, unless you really look into it and you really, like, go deep dive into your settings and apps and everything you're using. Just a side rant. I was just checking into that today again with my phone, and yeah. But I mean, I think, Facebook keeps trying to change things and kind of improve things with how they take stuff down or don't take stuff down. Because there's always, the criticism about that with what they remove, and occasionally, I mean, still, I'm sure there's every once in a while they remove something that they really shouldn't have, and it was done to, like, a major organization, or happened to someone, and a journalist hears about, wants to write about it, so it gets to the media, and then, Facebook has to deal with that, and, oh, we made a mistake. And, meanwhile, they're making that mistake millions of times a month or a day with users all the time.
I think the only solution is government regulation.
Yeah. Probably, yeah.
Because otherwise they can do things, but they have no standard, right? We talked about there's no appeal process. There's no consistency in how they apply their own rules. That wouldn't be allowed if it was regulated.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they're still their own I mean, they're still like a private company. I mean, a public company, whatever. But
yeah, but they have become a public space, as you said earlier in this interview. You cannot exist without them. So they are controlling. Imagine if we had a private company. Well, we do. We have private companies that maintain the highways, for example, right? Mm. But there are highways because there's no other way to get around.
Right.
So you have to have some control over things that become de facto public places, congratulations to them. They've created the only places we can go online and promote ourselves. But there's a price for having that much control.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess it would become a question then of what companies would be subject to such regulation and what wouldn't. But it seems like for the major ones, for sure, like, that's a solution.
Yeah. Hey, as a private company at Bear Oaks, I have a restaurant, but there are rules about, first, who I can serve. I can't say, no, I don't want to serve people of certain colors or religion. And also there are rules that I have to keep things clean and I can't poison my guests. But I am a private company.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I see your point. And I don't know if that's ever really going to happen. Of course, they would fight against that tooth and nail. I mean,
maybe, or maybe they wouldn't, because it's a nightmare for them now, and it would become the government's responsibility.
Yeah. Would it for sure improve, though, under the government regulation? I mean,
probably in some ways yes, and in some ways no, as everything we do.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is a difficult problem. I mean, even as I say, okay, like give the user the the control, right? Then there's still a matter of like, okay, you still have to be able to categorize content in order to filter out certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I also think that Facebook has these moderators, and I don't know if you could pay someone enough to like review the things that they have to look at.
Right.
And the terrible, like nightmarish
But they
stuff.
do. They do that now.
Right. And I think those people, I'm sure, are still underpaid for that job.
Yeah.
And they need to hire a lot more of them, and not like they don't have. I mean, I do say, okay, it's a difficult problem, but you know what? They have the money and they have the ability to like develop this technology. I do think they also just choose not to.
The other person that was really hurt recently is Hector Martinez. Hector Martinez from Mexico. He had a very active and very popular YouTube channel. He was doing a great job. Hector really gets it. He was really spreading the idea out there of naturism and trying to normalize nudity. But he lost it all. So Hector, how lovely to speak with you again. How are you?
I'm doing great, Stefan. Thank you for having me on the show today.
But you had such a wonderful YouTube channel. I miss it. Did you shut it down?
No, unfortunately, one day to my surprise, I woke up to a closed YouTube channel.
Had you been getting warnings or threats?
Well, it's funny because since I started my channel, I was frequently censored by YouTube. They had a problem with the content that I was producing, so I got really I spent a lot of time reading the community guidelines, and I noticed that there was 4 exceptions to share nudity in their platform. One had to do with documentary purposes, which was my main focus. There was also artistic, there was medical, and I don't remember what the fourth one was. But I was always making sure that all the content that I was producing was within those limits, and most of the content that I produced was documenting different events, travel, things like that that were related to the naturist lifestyle.
And I'm assuming you said you selected that, but did you ever get to argue that or have that discussion with them?
Yes, it was very common for me to upload a video and they would take it down, and I would go through their appeal process. And during the appeal process, I would explain to them why the content I was sharing online on their platform met their community guidelines. And it seemed to be a little bit funny the way that it worked, because it seems like there's an artificial intelligence element that detects it, but whenever you appeal it, a human actually reviews it. So it seems that the artificial intelligence doesn't understand context, but when an actual human being reads the reply and also sees the content, it's generally approved because it does fall within their community guidelines.
So generally, when you appeal, they agreed with you and the video came back.
I would say 99% of the time. The only time that they disagreed with me was the last time that I uploaded a video, which was a interview. I noticed that it was fine when I was uploading videos of events and things that were going on, but sometimes when I had an interview format, when I was talking to someone about something that they were doing naturist related, the fact that we were just sitting down talking naked seemed to upset the algorithm, especially. And it was very funny because that last time I went through the appeal process, they returned the video, but an hour or two later, my entire channel was just wiped out.
So there was really no reason for you to think that you would lose your channel, since every time you appealed, they agreed with you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I never. I don't know. It was funny because I thought that it would eventually happen just because I'm so used to being censored on so many different social media networks that the fact that YouTube was an exception just felt, I don't know, it just felt so great to be true. And that sadly turned out to be what happened at the end. But I always made sure that I fell within those community guidelines in order to avoid being taken down, because at the end of the day, what we wanted to accomplish was to normalize human body and social nudity. So it really made no sense wanting to go against their community guidelines just for the sake of doing it.
So, how did it feel? What was your reaction when it happened?
I think there was a part of me that was shocked just because of how easy it is for a social media network to just eliminate years of work, effort, resources, time, investment, just everything that goes into creating the content. So that made me feel a little bit shocked. But there was a certain aspect of me that kind of already expected this to happen. So it wasn't really an actual surprise. I don't know. It was like a numbing feeling. I knew that I had to move on from there because I mean I was planning on appealing the channel process and everything, but I didn't really think that it was going to work, and the appeal process took about 6 months to get a reply, and I think a lot of it is related to the COVID-19 pandemic because before this pandemic they had apparently enough human resources to actually review the disputes. But after that, I think they heavily depended on artificial intelligence and everything was just automated because it is a massive platform and it does receive hundreds of thousands of videos on a daily basis. So, probably maintaining a workforce that is capable of reviewing all that content is a challenge.
So sounds like you sympathize with them.
Not necessarily, but um, I don't know. I mean, sometimes good things come out of bad situations. I try to understand um, more of the wider picture, and because of that, I was able to transition a little more actively into Twitter, which I've had a really hard time growing the platform to the numbers that I had before. But I've had the pleasant surprise that on this platform specifically, there's much more engagement. But the same thing that happened to my YouTube channel can happen to my Twitter account and any other platform. It seems that this tendency of censoring, voices that are trying to push different ideas that are not the ideas of the establishment is more and more common as time goes by. So I don't know. I'm a little afraid that this might not be the last time that I have to go through this situation.
So your how many followers did you have on your YouTube account?
I had 1.3 million followers and over 200 million views.
That is massive, isn't it? Now, any content creator with that many followers would normally be making a lot of money. Were you?
No, no. It's actually curious that for me having 18,000 followers on Twitter, it might be a bit better than having 1.3 million followers on YouTube because of the nature of the content, it was just so impossible to monetize it. If I was comparing my channel with any other channel that didn't promote anything that was unconventional, I would be making maybe about $2 to $4 for every 1,000 views. If it was just $2, if we times that, or if we divide it by 200 million views, that's over $200,000. So I could have potentially made a lot of money from the content, but my goal was never to be rich from the content. It was more to liberate people from, all the stigma and taboo that we have associated to the body.
Yes, but you spend a lot of time doing that. There are expenses to a certain extent involved, and you have to live. So there's nothing wrong with people helping you financially with that or making money if there's advertising being run against it.
I agree. Yes, I agree. But I mean, as I mentioned, for me, I was more than happy just being able to share the content on the platform. I thought that, maybe monetizing it, which could be, I mean, now that I'm saying it, it might be a mistake on my part, but I thought that maybe the idea of monetizing was just asking for too much. But you're right. Like there's nothing wrong with the content that I was producing, and there's actually no real justification for why I couldn't have monetized that. But fortunately, I was able to transition to Patreon early within the channel, and that allowed the people that empathize or sympathize with the content that I was creating to be supporting of the work that I do. And because of their support, I've been able to continue to do this despite being taken down from my main source of traffic, which was YouTube.
You say that maybe it was expecting too much to make money, but if you were singing songs and playing guitar and had 1.3 million followers, and you would not even question whether you're entitled to that money, or if you were, doing funny videos or telling jokes. Why would you expect any less?
I think you're right. The idea of expecting any less is probably something that a lot of naturists eventually fall into, that mentality, because we are so accustomed of being an outcast community that sometimes we feel like just allowing us to exist is more than enough. But you're right. We shouldn't conform with just being able to share our content. There's no reason why we can't have the same benefits and be a part of the same model as other creators or other communities in general, because we're producing value. At the end of the day, we're liberating people. But I also come to the conclusion that maybe people don't like, or companies don't like, body acceptance because it's free, and it's really hard to make money when you don't have to create necessities in order for people to spend money. I mean, you can travel, vacation, and other services, but there's just so much more you can sell to someone who feels dissatisfied with themselves than someone that feels happy and liberated and empowered.
No, it's true. But sometimes I think that we naturists this way sound a bit like abused spouses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he beats me all the time, but he brought me flowers, so I feel grateful.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
So what do you think is the solution? How, if we could do anything, let's say government comes to you or something, or private sector says, Hector, you're right, this is wrong. How do we fix this? Because we still don't want to have porn on social media.
Well, I think the most practical solution is to try to treat adults like adults and children like children. The problem with social media is that they're trying to treat everyone like children. And I understand that there's dangers to exposing children to a lot of content that could be mentally harmful if they're not in the mental capacity or the maturity in order to consume that. But I do feel that adults should have the option to consume the type of content that they want. And I think, for example, Twitter has a relatively good strategy. The moment that you're setting up the settings of your account, you can choose whether the content that you're following or that you're uploading to the platform is sensitive in nature. And if you have that activated, it will only share that content with people who have accepted to consume sensitive content. And maybe anyone could do that, and that doesn't protect children because they could wave through that. But also Facebook has another strategy that allows people to upload ID in order to avoid impersonation. So if you put those two systems together, adults can confirm that they are overage, and they can confirm what type of content they want to consume versus the platform choosing what content adults have access to.
And one of the most vocal person and most frustrated, and you've heard her several times on this show as well, is Cleo from Topless Topics. I'm surprised that she hasn't given up. She keeps fighting. She keeps bringing it back. She is one of the most stubborn in a good way, the most stubborn is a negative word, the most determined person when it comes to getting that. And all she does is talk about things top free, usually things that are unrelated to even naturism. She just talks without a shirt, something with which I could do without any problems, but gets her banned, gets our feeds deleted. All right. So, yeah, we're talking about censorship. And I think you've had some experience with that.
Well,
in fact, you have a page, right? You have a page on your website that's every time you've been banned, and I bet you it's not even up to date.
Yeah, no, I know. I have to add a lot more screenshots from my phone. I actually got just another one banned again today. Another fresh one on Instagram. So I mean, is that it? We're jumping right into it. You don't want me to introduce?
No, that's it.
But yeah, I just got a fresh one banned today. So yes, I have a website, or I have a page on the website. This is tapastapas.org/banned, and I have it it auto completes as soon as I start typing it in because I reference it so often. And I still need to organize it by platform and stuff like that more. But basically, it's just a dump of screenshots of all the times I've been banned on every single platform: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, which is interesting because when they first started out, and Periscope is Twitter's live streaming platform, I sent them an email and I said, hey, I'm a Free the Nipple activist and this is what I do, blah, blah, blah. Do you support that? And they emailed me back and said, yes, we support that. More power to you. We won't ban you, blah, blah, blah. Needless to say, a couple months later, they started getting more popular and they banned me. So, yeah.
So people will tell you, and I'm sure they have, that you can put nudity on Twitter.
Yep.
How did you get banned?
My profile pic. So they say that, basically in the tweets themselves, you can post whatever you want. That also I have some stories to share. But so my profile picture, I don't even remember what it was the first time they banned, but I don't think there was even any female nipple visible in it. I think it was implied or whatever. And they banned that one a while ago. And then I changed it to something else. I don't remember what it was. And then I had this really cute picture where my now 2-year-old was breastfeeding. And, so he's attached to one nipple. The other nipple was hidden inside my shirt. And I just thought it was a really cute picture. And I had it for a while. And then there was some guy on Twitter who... his profile picture was him cosplaying as Catwoman, and the only thing I think is interesting about that is that it's a very sexual pose or whatever in his thing. And he said something, I don't know, he said one of those, I like what you do, by the way, great tits kind of comments to me. And I, was like, hey, that kind of defeats the purpose, blah, blah, blah. And he got super mad and went on this whole tirade about how CPS should take my children away because I was abusing them by being a Free the Nipple activist, and all this other stuff. I don't know. But all of a sudden, as soon as that happened, Twitter suspended my account again. And I left it suspended for a while, I let them delete the whatever. And then I replaced it with a picture where it's, instead of female nipples, I have guns hiding my nipples. And that's been my profile picture without a problem for over a year. So... Yep.
And YouTube, apparently you're supposed to be able to have nudity on YouTube, right?
I don't know. People keep saying that to me, but I'm a special case. It seems like the going theory between, even among my followers, not just me, but my followers say, it seems like there's some kind of hate brigade or something that follows me and reports me, because even on YouTube and everything like that, I will make a brand new account twice now. I've had YouTube accounts banned mid-live stream, and they weren't the main YouTube account because I've gotten a lot more, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But one of them, it was an unlisted stream, so only people who had the direct link could even watch. I was editing pictures from a artistic nude photo shoot that I did because I have bills to pay and idealism doesn't pay the bills. And they're very tasteful. It's, I don't know, I'm making hand gestures, it's audio only, but they're very I was going for sort of a Grecian goddess kind of aesthetic. But anyway, I was editing pictures of it and talking because I was live streaming while I did it, and they deleted the stream midstream. obviously saying it was porn. And then there was another live stream I was doing that was also another account, and that one they banned midstream, and I wasn't showing anything. All I was doing was reading hate mail that I'd gotten from YouTube, reading it aloud, and it got banned midstream. And I'm just amazed and baffled. But yeah, about 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to stop putting new videos on the Topless Topics TV main account because I use that email a lot too, and I'm just really nervous about losing access to that. So I made a new one, Topless Topics Show, but I can't get people to go to it. So I've kind of I still upload stuff to the channels, but when I upload to Topless Topics TV, I have this gigantic box that literally covers my entire body from chin down, which I've also had pictures like that banned on Instagram and Facebook. Literally, it's astounding. But anyway, yeah, I've been banned multiple times on YouTube even, and it just infuriates me. It's hard not to feel jealous when I see certain other, naturism activists or whatever they want to call themselves, women who post to these same platforms and post the barest amount of censorship to their, just their nipples, and somehow they're fine, where I'm getting banned with, big radiant colored blocks covering my whole body. And on YouTube, I'm actually, I'm going to be doing an interview with the creator of this YouTube channel soon. He was linked to me by one of my followers who thought that he had actually kind of stolen my idea, because it's called Normalizing Nudity on YouTube. And I guess it was just a happy coincidence that we, both happen to be fighting for a similar cause. But his videos are fully naked and uncensored on YouTube.
I think though that obviously there's a different list. Like you get flagged or something, mm-hmm. right?
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. Even the accounts that, like the unlisted one and everything, like those were completely separate accounts. So without
with
even
a different
topless
email address, so
yeah,
they wouldn't even know it's you.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's what, it sounds very conspiratorial, but the only thing we can think of is that there is literally a group or several people that, as soon as I let people know about a new account, suddenly that new account gets blocked. Like I made a new Instagram about a week ago, and I haven't really shared the link to anybody. And it even has Topless Topics. It was sort of an experiment, and I posted a thumbnail of a new episode of a video. I did what these other nutrists do who get away with it, where I only a tiny bit of mosaic right over the nipples themselves, and it's been like 3 days, and that picture hasn't been taken down. And yet on my main Topless Topics Instagram, again this morning, I had another picture that already had big blocks hiding my body taken down as adult solicitation and pornography. So
just for the record, you've not done any pornography, right?
Nope.
Nope. You've never done any hardcore or softcore porn or molestation of anybody.
Nope.
So
well, and see, the thing is, the whole thing that I'm fighting against, because while I am a naturist, a nudist, whatever you want to say, and I definitely support full body nudity not being sexual, my main focus, hence the name of my content, Topless Topics, is just wanting the same rights for everybody, regardless of gender. I mean, wouldn't it be nice if 2021 could be the year where we stop giving, people that look male rights that the rest of us don't get? And that's it. Like, even all these platforms, YouTube and everything, I don't think I've ever even tried to put a full naked, but also censored video on YouTube. Just topless ones, and even already censored topless ones get taken down from me. So... But yeah, I don't do anything sexual. Like, I'm just sitting there on the bed talking about potty training my kids or reviewing a video game I played or whatever. I'm never touching my boobs. I'm never, making obscene gestures. I'm never doing anything like that. I'm literally just sitting there talking.
So, it's not what the rules are there, and it's impossible for you to know what the rules are, is what you're saying. There's published rules, which I'm sure you've read. And
I think it's very arbitrary. I think it's sort of a reflection of like anti-loitering laws, where someone you don't like is near your business and you can just call the cops and be like, oh, they're loitering. But if it's someone you don't mind, then you don't say anything and everything's fine. I feel like that's how kind of YouTube and everything is they have these very vague guidelines that can basically be applied any way that they want. Of course, then you have stuff like Facebook where they literally say in their terms of service, no female nipples. And no, like, I don't know if they changed it at this point, but I know years ago there was a big expose on how their internal guidelines literally say, quote, no camel toe, which is a very, sexist sexual term to the female anatomy being visible, the outline being visible through pants or whatever. And like just the amount of detail to describing female body parts. And, I'm saying female, not woman, because gender is a spectrum and everything like that. I'm talking from the algorithmic perspective of looking female gets less rights than looking male.
Sure, it's probably okay for me to have.
Nobody's allowed.
I'm probably allowed to have like a Speedo bathing suit where you can see grapes and a banana kind of thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to camel toe. Camel toe's bad, but grapes and the bananas are okay, or whatever you would want to call the male equivalent.
Or David Bowie's infamous codpiece in Labyrinth.
Yes. Yeah. So, have you ever tried to get an explanation, argue with anybody, or talk to a human being?
I've sent in appeals. Every time something gets banned. Instagram's appeal now is just a single button press, and there's no you don't get to type in anything or whatever. And I've gotten 2 posts reinstated maybe out of 100 or so. And sometimes they'll be so nice to write back and just be like, we reviewed your application, your objection, and we decided to keep it in place. And I got one of those literally 5 seconds after I had submitted an approval, or not approval, but an
appeal?
to rethink their decision. Yep. So, appeal, there you go. Sorry, words. So I don't think that was actually looked at by a real person. And then on YouTube as well, every time they block or ban a video, I tried writing an appeal, and they almost always are just like, nah, we kept it. Words. And the thing about YouTube that makes me very nervous is that there are 3 strikes, you're out. And just as all these platforms, you can have something up for years, and then out of nowhere they'll decide, oh, we're going to delete this and ban it, whatever. And so YouTube, I am so envious of these creators who don't have to operate under the threat of Damocles' knife or sword at all times, where you never know, you trigger the wrong person or something, and they're gonna go through your YouTube history and report every video, and some algorithm says, oh, okay, blocks it, and there goes your entire channel. And that's why, like I said, I have all these different channels, so when one gets banned, hopefully they don't all go down with them, but it's a lot of work to try to get people to go to these different platforms. And, there's always the chance that the YouTube gods will be incensed enough that they'll look for all your stuff, whether IP, I don't know. But anyway, I've tried to get clarification, and basically you don't get a live person. You have to be super famous to get a live person. And sometimes even then, there was a thing on YouTube, I can't remember what it was called, some hashtag, but basically it was a bunch of YouTubers, video, movie reviewers and stuff like that, who will use segments of something while they're doing a review, and that falls under fair use. And I know a lot of people throw around fair use on YouTube thinking it covers literally everything. It doesn't, but these people were very strictly adhering to the legal premise of fair use, and YouTube was still taking their stuff down because the studio behind a movie that was really awful would complain about people not saying nice things about their movie, so YouTube would take it down. So it was this sort of mini movement where even big YouTube channels were talking about this. And I don't know actually if it got resolved. I don't know if it actually changed anything, but it was interesting to see even big channels having to deal with stuff like this. So it was a little encouraging, and yet at the same time very frustrating that you have to be famous to even have a chance of hearing from a live person.
Yeah, well, I've had on Facebook a block for sharing a picture and a post from a famous person which had some suggestive nudity. I got whatever it was, a 1-week ban or whatever. But that post stayed up. The original post stayed up. But I got the ban for sharing it. I mean, it
I feel that way when I go to like YouTube's homepage or whatever, and there's, music videos with like nipple tassels and deep throating bananas and stuff like that. And that's front page. That's, being advertised to millions of people. But I can't just sit there without a shirt or I'm banned as porn. It is infuriating.
Yeah, so how do you feel? How does this feel every time it happens? How do you feel?
You would think by now that I would be used to it. And in some ways I am. But it still feels like a rug being pulled out underneath me. I often say to followers and stuff that the haters and the stuff, they don't really bother me, because that most of that isn't about me. They're saying that to everybody. It's not a personal attack. But what really gets me down is putting all this work into a platform, and people say, well, why did you just use a different platform? They all ban female nipples, all the ones that aren't anything goes, including white supremacy and hardcore porn. Anything that has some level of moderation does not allow female nipples. But the thing I say to them is that the haters don't bother me. What really bothers me are when the websites will suddenly delete my content. And it's just like, hey, actually, you're not a person. We don't care how many hours and, literal years of life you put into this content. We don't care, how much you try to make it decent and educational and, have a purpose besides just serving for people's, fat material. Like, there's plenty of that on the internet already. I'm not interested in just adding to that pile. And the analogy I came up with is that it's sort of like I'm treading water, and I sort of have my head above the water. I'm just swimming. And every time YouTube or Facebook or whatever, hits me with another ban, it's sort of like they're just holding my head underwater for a couple seconds. Just hold me underwater for a couple seconds. Just drown. And one of these days, YouTube's going to delete my entire existence or, something like that. And that's basically going to be like, not just briefly holding my head underwater. But, yeah, it feels like a betrayal, which is stupid because, obviously, YouTube and stuff are completely soulless enterprises anyway. I have been on there since the first year of YouTube's existence, and so I've seen it grow into this monolith, and there will always be a part of me that, misses the days of yore when it really was by creators for creators. But it's a microcosm of the whole, rules don't apply to rich people and famous people. Same thing on YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that. If you've got the money and the fame, you can post whatever you want. You can post, disinformation that's turning people away from life-saving, medical treatments and stuff because you're handing over enough money, but you can't, make a post with even censored female nipples or it gets banned. Sorry, I always get really, angry about this, but it's just really frustrating.
You actually sound a lot more calm
oh, well.
then I would have, because I'm going to tell you that I get anxiety. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but on Facebook, when you get a ban, often it logs you out, so you have to log back in so they can slap you this thing that you've now been banned. Mm-hmm. And every now and then, of course, you get logged out anyway, right? Because it's a security thing. And so whenever I go to Facebook on my phone and I'm logged out, I'm going, jeez. And there's this anxiety.
So I have that feeling. So I used to use Hootsuite, now I use Sendable to schedule posts, just so it takes a little bit of the work off of me because, I am a stay-at-home mom and I only have so much time to work on this stuff. And that is the same thing for me. When I get a could not be delivered message through Sendable, I know it's because I got a fresh Instagram ban. Like, again, this morning, message could not be delivered. I log in Instagram. We've removed this post, blah, blah, blah. So I have the exact same feeling. And the only advice I can give is, like I said, don't put all your eggs in one basket and basically operate with the belief that you will get banned at any moment. Because, it's like my life motto is hope for the best, expect the worst. And that really is true on website because you do not matter. You are not, however much work and time or whatever you put into your content, it literally doesn't matter. They can delete your entire existence with the click of a button. And that's why I think you have to really, if you're trying to cause, I mean, if you're trying to make a difference, if you're trying to change people's hearts and minds, you have to connect with people on an individual basis so that you can, you know, convince them to go to a new platform. If it's literally just people one stop, they come, watch the video and leave, you know, there's not going to be any way to convince them, hey, I got banned, can you come to this other channel now? And, you know, it is a lot of work and it's very difficult, and you're going to, you know, run into a lot of trolls and people that yell at you for not activisming the way they want you to activism. But, you know, that's the only solace, is that these websites might, you know, you're not a person to these websites, but to the other people who use that same site, you can be a person, and you can be worth the extra effort of following to a different account.
Do you know why YouTube banning you is particularly ironic? Do you know?
Because you can find full-on porn on YouTube.
Well, besides that, do you know what was the motivation behind the birth of YouTube?
Oh, yeah. YouTube was founded because the guys who started it were having a hard time finding videos of Janet Jackson's nip slip during a halftime show. And that's basically the start of it. And of course, Facebook was started to rate the hotness of female co-eds at the universities. And like, that's what's hilarious about these websites is, you know, I get so enraged whenever Women's Equality Day rolls around and all these websites are like, we support women. Like, no, you don't. Shut up. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So what would you like the solution to be? I mean, surely you don't actually, you agree that some censorship has to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no secrets. I'm very, you know, I consider myself pretty progressive, and I think it's hilarious that, you know, right now the conservatives are going, we're being silenced. And it's like, you've had the mainstream run of it for, you know, there's so many people on YouTube who have literally made millions of dollars off of advertising, merchant stuff like that for their content, simply because, you know, they're not visually doing something against the rules. It doesn't matter what's coming out of their mouth. Whereas I'm on the opposite side. It doesn't matter what comes out of my mouth. I could just be sitting there being like, love wants another, you know, love each other and pet a kitten. But because of what I look like, I'm going to get banned. And I think ideally we need to kind of readdress priorities. You know, what's the harm in someone seeing a woman without a shirt talking about potty training her 4-year-old versus what's the harm of a clothed guy, you know, saying that mass shootings were a liberal hoax? Like, who is being harmed by the material that you're censoring or not censoring? And again, it blows my mind that these places pretend to support women, but only if, you know, we stay within this very limited box of where they're allowed to use our bodies to sell, you know, hot rods and Victoria's Secret, you know, whatever, but we can't sit there, you know, nursing our baby, which is what breasts are for, without having people, you know, want to call the cops on us for causing a public scene. And it's just, what?
Well, yeah, but the argument that they would give you is that, you know, we have these community standards because your nipples are very upsetting to people. That's not our fault. That's society. Yeah. What do you want us to do, Cleo?
Oh, I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. So there's this lovely, not catch-22, but there's this sort of cyclical thing where it's like, well, they ban nipples because nipples are banned in legislation, but legislation bans nipples because that's what people want. But people want it because that's what they're reinforcing each other on social media. Like, you're never going to progress as a society if all we're doing is pointing at someone else and saying, well, they don't believe it yet, therefore, you know, we can't try. And that's going to be, I'm definitely not like putting myself on par with, you know, fighting for racial injustice and stuff. Well, I do try to talk about that stuff in my videos, but I'm saying every piece of progress that happens has to kind of rock the boat, has to piss people off, because if it was something that was easily acceptable, then it's not, you know, there wouldn't be a fight in the first place. It would just happen. if it's meeting obstruction by the powers that be, I think that really kind of highlights that's why you need to fight for it. That's why you need to get people to readdress their, whatever it is that they just quietly accept without even challenging it, which to me, again, for all the progress we've made, and admitted we have a long, long, long way to go. So by all means, I am not, like, oh, racism is over. No. Huge, huge, huge problem. But what I'm trying to get at is that, hold on, I got away from myself. My hope is that if we can get past this censorship bubble, to get people to even think about the fact that it doesn't make sense to be giving different rights to people based on whether an algorithm thinks they're male or female, then we can start addressing, a lot of other biases and stuff. And I do admit that I don't know how to put this without sounding really yucky, but I understand the clickbait nature of my chest. And that's partly why I do try to talk about stuff that matters to me. Like when I did have one of my longtime followers who is a Black man, we did an interview where I was asking him about his impressions of the BLM protest and everything like that. And, it's sort of getting people, if they're going to click and look for content like mine anyway, I might as well, trick them into accidentally learning about something about the world. But at the same time, if I could live in a world where it wasn't controversial for me to have a shirt off just like my husband, that would be great. That would be wonderful.
Well, it's a catch-22, right? The reason it's clickbait is because they've made it, and the society's made it into clickbait, and the more you make it a forbidden thing, the more it becomes clickbait and it's sexualized.
Yep.
But it's also, to me, that the idea of community standards is whose community? Because I live in a place where women can walk around top-free all they want, and it's perfectly legal. And I can see it on the street, but I can't see it on social media. But if you, and then they say, well, yeah, but some places are more sensitive. Okay, well, then you shouldn't show even a woman in a bathing suit because some of the folks in the Middle East are going to be really upset by that. So how do you do that, right?
Well, that's why it is important to have a lot more diversity in your company structure and in who makes your guidelines or whatever, because, going back to racism, there is a lot of implicit bias. Being racist doesn't mean you have to jump all the way to, throwing out racial epithets and everything. It can be a very subtle thing where it's just you have two equally qualified people for a job, but because of internal biases, you gravitate towards the person who's your same race. And you see the same thing a lot in tech companies, both racially and, gender-wise, sexuality-wise, because so many of them are straight, cis, white men. They have a different viewpoint on what is, societally acceptable or not. And so, and it's not even like necessarily malicious. It literally is just, we are all products of our environment. We are all products of our worldview and the experiences we've had. And so the only way to really make sure that your company and your guidelines include different viewpoints is if you have people with those different viewpoints on your staff. It can't be filtered down where it's like, well, my whatever friend said that this is how she'd like, the website to be. You have to actually hire that friend. Right. And that's why it's nice when I hear about new movies or something. Like, for instance, when Frozen 2 came out, I remember reading a while ago how the movie makers actually communicated with I forget what they're called, but they're basically the native tribes of Norway, to make sure that they weren't, stereotyping them or like kind of, cultural appropriation, like they were actually giving a fair representation to them. And I would like to see that happen more in tech companies. And it's not necessarily exactly related to censorship, but one of the things I'm looking forward to in the future is seeing some real repercussions against what they have decided to flourish and what they've decided to block. Because, we've tried the experiment where they've blocked female nipples, but let, conspiracy theorists and white nationalists run amok. And I don't know about you, but I don't think it's turned out so great. So maybe we can try the opposite side, block some Nazis and allow some nipples. I mean, crazy thought, right?
So what can we do? What can I do? What can you do? What can the person listening do?
Be outspoken about it. you know, I try to.
Though?
Is there anyone out there? I try to make it clear that I understand that I am very privileged and that, you know, first of all, my professional work, I'm working remotely, and I can kind of, if someone decides they don't want to work with me, I can just pick a different client because I'm a graphic designer. And also, you know, my parents know what I do. My mom's only concern is like, oh, you know, the internet, well, if they'll Google you, they'll find your videos. Like, okay, like, whatever. I'm not doing anything I'm ashamed of. My husband doesn't care. My kids, you know, well, they might have their own opinions, but right now they're too young. But a lot of people don't have that privilege. You know, they have a real chance of being ostracized by family or losing their jobs or whatever. So in that case, you know, I wouldn't want anyone to lose their job over, you know, fighting for both topless equality and normalizing nudity as a whole. But, you know, there are ways you can help. You can always make an anonymous account and just use that to kind of amplify the voices that you support. I started a thing on my website where I put toplesstops.org/how-to-help, and I made this little guide for how you can download a picture and post about, you know, my or whoever's content on social media, but you make it a totally original post. Because the thing is, if you just share my post or retweet my post or whatever, if I get blocked, then the whole post gets, you know, taken down. So if people make an original post, then, you know, it'll stay up even if my content gets taken down. And, you know, I always want to encourage other people to make their own content. Like I said, as long as they're, you know, in a position where they're not gonna get booted from half their family or whatever. Like, I happen to not really care about any of my extended family, but, you know, I wouldn't want someone to not be able to feel safe in their own family. But like I said, you can do it anonymously, or, you know, just share other people's content if you can't make your own. Because, you know, for my stuff, even when I'm not outright banned, I'm hidden from search results. Like Twitter, for instance, I don't like using the Twitter app instead of going to the page, because mine is bugged where it doesn't matter, you know, how many times I say show me sensitive media. Every time I post, if I post my own picture, or if I, you know, share a tweet, like even a retweet of somebody else, or I use a GIF that is uploaded, you know, that I'm just finding in Twitter, it will say hide sensitive media. And it's always just a slap in the face. Like I'll post a cute picture of a cat, and then I open up the post and it's like hidden sensitive media. And it's just this slap that, you know, because Twitter has decided I'm a porn account, everything I post gets hidden beneath sexual content. And that also means that my stuff doesn't show up on search results. So a lot of these activists, you know, who support stuff like normalized nudity or whatever, when they're not outright banned, they are hidden from search results. So they're dependent on you, the listener, to tell your friends and family and followers about them. Because as long as it's just us doing it, we're basically just screaming into the void.
And certainly not the least of them is Nick and Lynn's, who are actually trying to do their life, their business, based on being social media influencers. And it literally is the difference whether they can eat or not and live their life. And social media is making that very difficult for them. So hello, Nick and Linz. Where are we talking to you today?
We are in Spain.
Spain, nice.
Yes, the south of Spain.
It is windy. We have some warm days, but we have some chilly days. Today is pretty windy and pretty chilly. But yesterday we had a great warm day. We were naked on the terrace, watching the sea. So.
It's like summer in Canada, basically.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because people might be listening to this in the summer, but we're recording this in January. And so what's the temperature when it's warm in Spain?
Here, what was it yesterday? 20 degrees, something?
Okay, that's not hot yet.
No, but we have a very, very beautiful, nice terrace. So if the wind is coming from over the mountain, then we don't have the wind. So then it's really, really hot in the sun.
And it's in the sun. Like 20 degrees in the sun, it's like...
Yeah.
And I would totally take that over the minus 10 I have right now.
Yeah. We're not trying to make you jealous.
So we're talking about censorship and social media censorship. Have you ever been censored?
Yes. Multiple times.
Oh, more than once.
More than once. Yeah, indeed.
In fact, you've had one of your accounts just deleted, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's been a year and a half ago, but that was the big hit because it was our Instagram account. It had almost 50,000 followers, and then just gone.
Without a warning, without anything, just from one day to another, it was gone.
And you make your living as social media influencers, so that would have hurt a lot, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did.
It did.
Those were very sad days.
Yeah. And honestly, I cried. I cried because for so many reasons. I cried because it was our income, first of all. I cried because of the double standards on Instagram. I cried because, what's the future on social media? What's the future with naturism on social media? I cried. Yeah.
I bet you were angry too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Angry for so many reasons.
Did you get any warning?
No.
No.
No, nothing.
Did you get were there 6 posts deleted the week before or a month before?
Nope, nothing.
There was, in the last weeks or months, we lost a couple of posts.
But not
nothing seriously.
No.
Because there was some indication because we were starting to lose posts, which never happened before. And unfortunately, it started happening again last month. So now we are very, very careful on Instagram. We stopped posting new pictures on our feed. We still do some story, but we are also very careful with it because, we don't want to lose it again.
Yeah, for the people who don't know, we started a second Instagram account. We started from scratch. And now we have 36,000 followers. But also, to be honest, the amount of followers, okay, it's an indication how popular you are. But to be honest, our engagement rate on our second Instagram account is way more generous than on our first one. So we have a lower amount of followers, but we reach the right people. Because the comments are good comments, the messages that we get are really good messages, which is really, really good. So that's why we are super, super, super careful at the moment. It's been 2 weeks now, I think, that we posted a picture on our feed. And when we do something on Instagram on the stories, then we wear clothes. It's not because we want to, but it's because we have to keep our account.
And it's also a lot of our target audience is on Instagram.
Yeah.
We get most of our audience is between 30 and 40 years old, and those are the Instagram users. We have so many followers who only follow us on Instagram. So those are people we lose immediately if we lose our account again. If some other people follow us as well on Twitter, on Facebook, and they find us back, but so a lot of people who just follow us on Instagram, we lose them. Then we lose Instagram.
And also our audience on Instagram is more female.
Yeah.
Are more females than on any other social platform. Yeah.
So when you lost your first Instagram account, did you appeal? Did you try to?
We can send you the amount of pictures from us holding a number to appeal to get our account back. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Every day, I think for 3 months, every day you could appeal. We always appealed. Then you have to take a picture with a number and send it to them. We did that every single day.
Yeah. Nothing.
Never.
No response.
Nothing. No.
Nobody ever said a thing to you.
No, it's crazy. We thought that eventually somebody would get tired of receiving our pictures and at least respond like, "Stop doing that, guys. We're not getting it back." But no, nothing.
No, we even tried to reach out to our followers, like, "Hey, this is what you can do to get our Instagram back. Please do it." And hundreds of people send us an email like, "Yeah, we did it, and we hope you get your Instagram account back." But nope,
Didn't work.
Didn't work.
So, do you know why you lost it?
I think we do. Our last picture was a parody on Austin Powers. It's a cut from, there's in one of the Austin Powers movies, he's walking around naked and there's always something in the way. But the style of the pictures we take. So we took a cut of it. It was really cool. With black chalk, we painted chest hair on my chest. And then we copied the picture.
Mm-hmm.
But we also used lots of Austin Powers hashtags. And probably that was the trigger that people who follow the Austin Powers hashtags may not be so happy with nudity or nudism, and they reported us, I think. And
were there penises? Was your penis showing in the
No,
picture?
no.
Your nipples? Was it nipples showing in the picture?
It was completely according to the rules.
So, what rule did you break?
You tell us. Call Mark and ask him if you have his number.
All those appeals and you did not get an explanation?
No.
How does that feel?
Super frustrated. Because they're also, it doesn't make any sense. Like if you look at a lot of other accounts on Instagram who are wearing clothes, but that you can really see that it's sexual or just porn, hardcore porn, and they're still on that platform, then it's a sad world they live in.
The thing is, they keep saying that for their advertisers don't like to be close to nudity, and that's one of the main reasons why they don't allow nudity. But they have a Pornhub account. Pornhub has, I looked it up the other day, 4.5 million followers on Instagram. So advertisers don't have any problem with having their ads next to a Pornhub account, but they do have a problem with being next to a Naked Wanderings account, which doesn't really make sense at all to me. But okay, it's a private company, it's their platform, and we are just users, we use it for free. So that's, okay, we have to follow their guidelines. But the most annoying thing for us is that their guidelines, they mean nothing, but because they keep kicking us out, even though we follow their community standards perfectly.
Yeah.
And that's the annoying thing, like you never know. Even today on Instagram, we never know. Tomorrow we can wake up and our Instagram account can be gone again. Even though we follow the community standards, okay, not the very new ones, but before we follow them completely and still.
Yeah.
Or at least your interpretation of the community standards. We're not sure how they interpret the community standards.
No.
Apparently differently than us.
Yeah, and that's also the thing. They're not clear. They're absolutely not clear, the guidelines or the standards. And they're not consequent, how do you say? Consequent on who's still on the platform and who's not.
It's like...
No, consistent. Yeah, they're not consistent.
Yeah.
A naked butt cannot be the main focus of a picture. But what is the main focus? It's like, is it like all in the picture or just in the center of the picture? A couple of weeks ago, the Meandering Naturists lost their Instagram account. They also had quite a big account. They only have pictures in nature and always taken from quite a distance. It's always with their back because they don't like to show their face on Instagram. So it's, you see two naked people from a distance in every of their pictures, and still their Instagram account got blocked.
But if that butt was wearing a string, then it would be fine. Absolutely, like a string, but like a rope.
The cord.
Just a cord. Yeah. Just that. Then it would be fine, probably.
Well, they changed the rules, right? There's an article that on December 20th the rules changed, and I suspect that's why I lost one of my posts from 8 months ago. Because that was the rationale. It was what is it? Adult sexual solicitation.
Yeah.
It was a post about your post, talking about how naturists hang out online during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Which, how is that solicitation? I don't know.
Yeah. And that was a picture from me, I think.
Yes, sitting on a chair. So there was you couldn't even see your whole bum.
No. No, I was holding a phone. Yeah, true. Yeah, holding a phone and yeah.
But again, there was not even the ability to click appeal. Sometimes there is. This one, no, they decided it was a clear violation, I guess.
Hey,
because
I'm sorry.
they didn't even give me the chance to appeal.
Yeah.
So they changed the rules, and then you're supposed to, I guess, go back through all your posts and reevaluate them according to the new rules that they don't really explain or tell you about.
But the new rules, they're more consistent. And they actually say that body parts like breasts or genitals cannot be covered by objects or human or hands or so.
But isn't that every picture you guys take with, you know?
Exactly. That is the other reason why we turned very silent now on Instagram, because
and also,
it's really every picture.
And the thing is also, I'm sorry, but a skirt is an object. So if you just,
of course.
Yeah, so if you post a picture completely clothed with a skirt and a t-shirt, those are objects. So nobody can ever post a picture of themselves anymore wearing clothes, or no?
See, I know the problem now. You think this is about logic.
Yeah. Isn't it what humanity is all about?
Yeah. So what's the answer? I mean, I know you said it's a private company, but my point has been for a few years now is it might be a private company, but it's a public space. They've created it. They've succeeded. Everybody's on there, and if you're not on there, you don't exist. You are nobody. So therefore, they have created a public space that you cannot avoid. So what's the answer? How do we get our message across?
That's a big question.
I think we need a lot of bottles of wine for that and some more time to think about that.
So somebody will have to fight for our naturist rights, but of course we are a big, like a minority. I think naturism in general is calculated to be 5% of all people who enjoy social nudity, which is not a lot. Even I would hope that the very big organizations like the INF would do something about it, or at least take an official stand and try to talk with social media owners or lobby with governments, like with the American government. But I don't think that it would work, but at least they could make a point of it.
Yeah, but look at what Spencer Tunick did last year, I think, or is it 2 years ago? I don't remember. He went to Silicon Valley to protest and to talk with Facebook and Instagram and all those guys out there, and they just didn't let him in. And if you think about Spencer Tunick is a big name, and not only in the naturist community, because he himself isn't a naturist. So he's not huge in the naturist. He is not only huge in the naturist community, but in the art community in general. And even a big name like Spencer Tunick, there was like, they just laugh at him.
But he avoided the government. And that's something like here in Spain, the Spanish Federation has managed or almost managed to make nudity a human right. If you can make this global, then we have something we can stand on. Then we can go to Facebook and say, okay, this is discrimination because nudity is a human right. You're taking away my human rights. And as a company, you're not allowed to do that. Even though you're a private company, you can't discriminate. But we don't have any basis at the moment.
Yet.
Yeah, well, there is it's community standards, but the question is always whose community, right? It's not the European community, although it appears to me in the last 20 years that the Americans have managed to adjust their community standards in Europe. They kind of managed to force it on European. I'm seeing that mentality. We did a show on the Naked documentary, which is by Norwegian, or is it Swedish? I think he's Swedish. Jan Dalchow, and he was saying that there's the adjustment because the Netflix, for example, you want to have a TV show on Netflix, you have to follow the American community standards. But when you do make laws, it does affect Facebook, it does affect Instagram, and perhaps if European countries or the European Union made laws, they would have to look at different community standards depending on where you are. And then I'm moving. Because that's the problem. If you're small, you don't matter. But if you're big enough, you do. And I think Spencer Tunick is not big enough. But there's plenty of very big celebrities who get away with posting stuff that you and I would never get away with.
Yeah.
Of course.
And it stays up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, but they are being sponsored by big companies that are also advertisers on Instagram. If Jennifer Lopez is the new face of what is Chanel? Chanel, I would guess, is a big advertiser on Instagram. So Instagram cannot kick her out. It's like, yeah, it's a whole other level.
So the argument often is that these companies are private businesses and that they have the right to do what they want. And I understand that because as the owner of Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park, I appreciate that to a large extent. I have to have a lot of power because, one, I'm putting all my money at risk. Well, my wife and I are. And we are trying to run the business the way we want to. And there is a right there. There is a right. I understand that. But I also there's a lot of regulations I have to follow. I have to follow regulations to make sure I have safe water. I have to follow regulations to make sure that food is handled properly in the restaurant. I have regulations to make sure that sewage is handled properly, not just dump into the river and polluting things. These are all regulations I have to follow. But I do have the freedom to decide who is there and who is not, which is important to maintain the naturist atmosphere that we want in a naturist environment. I have to be able to almost arbitrarily throw people out. I can't have a huge, long 6-month process while they hang out and make the place horrible for people. So there has to be some regulation, but I understand that private businesses have some freedom to run the business the way they want to. That's important too. But when it comes to Instagram and Facebook, they have become de facto public places. When you become that big, and any company who becomes that massive that they are intrinsically part of society, they have to accept that if you're going to grow that big, you're going to be looked at a lot more carefully. People don't have much choice. Like, not being on Facebook, I've tried, is like not existing. You're missing information and you cannot promote information. It is a de facto public space. And so they can't have the same power because they are shutting people out. They will, you've heard Nick and Linz and Hector and Cleo, Felicity, they were all trying to promote things. And if they cannot promote their business, they don't exist. They cannot succeed. In fact, Facebook has actually kind of given up. They recognize they can't make it work. They need regulation. On March 30th, 2019, Mark Zuckerberg published an op-ed in the Washington Post where he asked for government regulation. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to read it. And even recently, I'm recording this in February of 2021, but in January of 2021, Kevin Chan, who's the global director and the head of public policy for Facebook Canada, told the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, that Parliament should make clear what kind of content is not allowed on Facebook. They want regulation because they recognize that they are terrible at it and they are being driven only by trying to run their business as cost effectively as possible, which means you have to make the moderation as cheap as possible. So my solution is, first, is let people choose. This part has always driven me crazy. See, Twitter is a better model because Twitter, if you don't want to follow somebody, you don't have to. Their rule is you can't have your profile picture or the banner at the top that shows up when you do a search have nudity in it. But if people choose to follow what is clearly marked as sensitive content, I think this is their term. I don't know. Somebody's term is that. That's your choice. And that is very reasonable. Let people choose. If people choose to follow Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park, I'm assuming that they don't get offended by nudity. And if they do, they should stop following it. You know? And so that's the first concept. Not all community standards are the same. Let people choose their community and the standards that they find acceptable. There are limits, of course. You know, we don't need the abuse where people are being harmed. That's not a community we need to tolerate. But we don't tolerate murderers. There's a lot of things we don't tolerate because they're against the law. Naturism, at least in Canada and in most Western countries, is perfectly legal. And so the ability to talk about it is part of the fundamental free speech that should be allowed. And the images are a key part of that communication. And because no system is perfect, and we recognize that, that's why we have courts. Any social media system out there has to have a true appeals process. An appeals process that allows you to defend yourself. Imagine a court where you don't get to explain. And you deserve an explanation that is clear and specific, perhaps only if you ask for it. But you deserve that explanation, not just, here's the penal code, you violated one of those laws, go figure it out on your own. That's how do I know? How do I know if a mistake was made if I don't know the thinking that went behind it? And I think that the appeals process should involve multiple people because the judgment of one is not good enough. And as far as I know, all Supreme Courts have a series of people. And most decisions in Supreme Courts, where you think that's the law which is written down, should be clear. But most of those decisions are not unanimous. There's usually dissenting judges. So you need multiple people in this appeal process on social media as well. I understand it's going to be more expensive, but Facebook is one of the most profitable and richest corporations in the world. So surely they can afford a slightly better process. For those who want it, because a lot of people won't bother appealing, but for those who want it, an appeals process is key. So that will be all for this episode of the Naturist Living Show. I think a fairly heavy one, but a very important one. Thank you for listening. Thank you for thinking about all these things, and don't stop. Don't give up. Keep fighting for our rights. My name is Stéphane Deschênes, and I'm your host for this podcast and the owner of Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. And I make the show with a lot of help from Samantha Graham, who makes the task of editing and producing the show so much easier because she does so much of the time-consuming behind-the-scenes stuff to make me look good so I can just talk. So thank you, Samantha. And thank you for all those of you who are supporting us on Patreon. Again, you can go over there or you encourage others to do so. Patreon.com/Naturist Living Show, one word. Remember, the money is not for me. The money goes towards production, goes towards supporting Samantha as she does the work. I don't get one penny. And the show will always be available for free so we can spread the word because of the support of people on Patreon. You can find links to all the things we talked about in the show as well in the show notes on the show's website, one place where we cannot be censored because we completely control the website, and the internet that way is still not censored. Hopefully it will stay that way. The show's website is naturistlivingshow.com. And also keep sending your comments and suggestions. We always appreciate reading them and getting them. We read all of them. We don't necessarily respond to all of them because we don't have time. We get a lot of comments, but we try. The show's email address is contact@naturistlivingshow.com. And yes, you can find us on all of the social media places that constantly censor us. We're still there. And you can find those also on our website, naturistlivingshow.com. You can also call and leave a comment and take as many tries as you'd like, and even delete it when you are done. We've had some problems with the quality of the lines, but hopefully by the time you listen to this, it will be fixed. We had one comment, which we'll put in the next episode, that it was so mangled, I'm going to have to call the person and re-record it. The show's phone number, if you do want to leave a message, is 905, country code 1, 905-473-6060, or Skype for free, Bear Oaks, one word, and then it's extension 333. That gets you to the Naturist Living Show because that's the main phone number for Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. I hope you enjoyed the show and that you'll join us again for the next episode of the Naturist Living Show.
This episode of the Naturist Living Show was brought to you by Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park. Traditional naturist values in a modern setting. Traditional values means that naturism is more than just taking your clothes off. It is a life philosophy with physical, psychological, environmental, social, and moral benefits. Bear Oaks Family Naturist Park strives to promote those naturist values in a modern setting that provides the amenities and services that our members and visitors expect. Free your body, free your mind. Learn more at www.bearoaks.ca.
Hello there. I'm George Putnam. I'd like to begin with a fact, a simple yet shocking fact. It is this: a flood tide of filth is engulfing our country in the form of newsstand obscenity and is threatening to pervert an entire generation of our American children. We know that once a person is perverted, it is practically impossible for that person to adjust to normal attitudes in regard to sex. Yet much of this material has been described as an illustrated, detailed course in perversion, abnormal sex, crime, and violence. It is also a fact that no matter who buys this material, 75 to 90% of it ends up in the hands of our children. Now, you might ask yourself, why this sudden concern? Pornography and sex deviation have always been with mankind. This is true. But now, consider another fact. Never in the history of the world have the merchants of obscenity, the teachers of unnatural sex acts, had available to them the modern facilities for disseminating this filth. High-speed presses, rapid transportation, mass distribution, all have combined to put the vilest obscenity within reach of every man, woman, and child in the country. In the past few years, this obscenity traffic and salacious newsstand literature have become increasingly worse, not only in content, but in volume. This traffic continues to increase and flourish for one reason. It is big business, profitable business for the mercenary persons who produce it, and for its more than 800 distributors. The United States Supreme Court has described it as dirt for dirt's sake. We describe it as dirt for money's sake. Obscene literature is a $2 billion a year business. That's $2 billion. Through this material, today's youth can be stimulated to sexual activity for which he has no legitimate outlet. He is even enticed to enter the world of homosexuals, lesbians, sadists, masochists, and other sex deviants. The psychiatric terms for these unnatural sex acts are unknown to most decent adults in our country. But through this salacious material, these abnormalities are corrupting the minds and the hearts of our children. Perversion for profit. Here is the most vicious, the most insidious feature of these publications. They constantly portray abnormal sexual behavior as being normal. They glorify unnatural sex acts. They tell youngsters that it's smart, it's thrilling, it provides kicks to be a homosexual, a sadist, and every other kind of deviant. The Military Chaplains Association of the United States, practically every major fraternal, civic, and religious organization, the juvenile court judges, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, innumerable psychiatrists, sociologists, and psychologists attribute the moral decay among our people in very large part to the obscene and pornographic literature so prevalent in our society. This moral decay weakens our resistance to the onslaught of the communist masters of deceit. A major factor that makes youngsters prime targets for this printed filth is the natural curiosity of youth about the mysterious force of sex. Yet, on virtually every newsstand is a welter of misinformation which can wreck them for life. Well, at this point, my friends, I wish to make it clear that the obscenity I'm talking about and the examples that I'm about to show you were not bought on the sly from under the counter. They were not purchased on Skid Row or on the other side of the tracks. They can be bought openly by anyone in drugstores, groceries, delicatessens, terminals, malt shops, cigar stores, newsstands, all over the community. They can be purchased by children, whether in a small town like McAllen and the Rio Grande, or in Chicago, New York, or Los Angeles. A prime example of one major category are the so-called girly magazines, which sell over 15 million copies a month. These highly colorful magazines picture stark nudity on slick paper. They often present their subject on bed or couch, in positions indicative of intercourse or other sex act, obviously calculated to stimulate the reader. The nakedness, the nudity of these magazines is defended and foisted upon the people by a vociferous minority in our society. They lack the moral standards and values of our Judeo-Christian heritage. They not only oppose the principles of that heritage, which has given us our rich institutions and laws, but they advocate their overthrow. For the sake of decency in this film, we have partially covered the pictures and disguised the identity of the models. But actually, these magazines not only display complete nudity, but they do so in a perverted manner. Such as this appeal to the sodomist. Such as these shots, which are typical of the preoccupation with the female breast, to a point that it has become a fetish. And this one, with its overtones of bestiality, and with lesbian implications. Another important problem common to these publications is the dwelling upon teenage participation in wild, flagrant abuses of the God-given gift of sex. This is amply depicted by the pose of this obviously young girl, her clothes in the disarray of sexual activity, with the stimulus of alcohol indicated by the tumbler placed on her thigh. And again, the breast fetish, Note the sensual expression alluded to by Dr. Sorokin, the renowned Harvard sociologist, as being the hallmark of so much of contemporary photography. And then we come to nudist magazines. If they were printed only for the nudist cult, they would never exist. Their circulation would not support the cost of printing. These total exposures are not of nudists in some instances, but rather of paid professional models. Group exposure is a hallmark of these cultists. However, it's been well stated that very few blind people join the nudist colonies. This mixture of male and female with total anatomical detail is typical of these magazines. A young boy in Philadelphia raped and killed a 5-year-old girl. And while he was testifying that he had been stimulated to this heinous crime by reading a nudist magazine, a federal court judge in Washington was granting to that very same publication a second-class mailing permit. And then we come to a terribly sad indictment of our society, the so-called physique group of publications. These magazines with a homosexual viewpoint and poses are often not understood by many youngsters who take them as instruction of body development. But psychiatrists believe that prolonged exposure of even the normal male adult to this type of publication, though he may not be aware of its true nature, will nevertheless pervert. Think then of the consequences to the inexperienced youth who, in purchasing and studying this material, becomes a pawn for these misfits, these homosexuals who have a slogan that betrays the evil of the breed. Today's conquest, they say, is tomorrow's competition. See the tender age at which homosexuals prefer their conquests. Look here at the young face and bright smile which could be the hope of the world. But in the other half of the picture is revealed the seduction of the innocent. Look at this poor young lad, but when looking, think of the others who might follow his perfidious footsteps when photos like these are available at the corner news rack. And so it goes, countless poses, still pictures, slides, movies, all with the same content, and more of the same. This picture is not one typical of the physique magazines. It approaches another class of magazines dealing with transvestites, wherein the wearing of female garments is that which provides sex gratification for the participant. This picture, of course, merely confesses on the cover of the magazine the charges we have made. In this ad, the titles of the magazines and their table of contents speak more eloquently than I of the tremendous problem here presented. Sexual sadism, strange flagellation cults, erotic, confessions of a sadist. What is fetishism? The pleasure of pain, the worship of the whip, sexual problems of a masochist, how to buy a whipping, famous transvestites, are cross-dressers afraid of sex? These titles lead us to an even more bizarre but nevertheless common product of our news racks. The composite picture here speaks for itself. This type of aberration is usually depicted by showing several persons, one of whom is dominant, and binding or inflicting pain upon the other. And thus the grotesque costuming and the significance of the extreme spiked heel and the tight boot, the riding crop, the burning cigarette, rubber and leather garments, and all the rest. And here again, an appeal to the sodomist with a play upon the buttocks, the laced leather garment. This picture hints at the common idea of bestiality. Dr. Sorokin, the renowned sociologist at Harvard, says that today the newsstands, quote, depict the world as a sort of human zoo inhabited by raped, mutilated, and murdered females, and by he-males outmatching in bestiality cavemen and outlusting the lustiest of animals. Male and female alike are hardened in cynical contempt of human life and values, unquote.